In Fallout 4, the castle is one of my favourite places to build. But repairing this castle with no mods is always a challenge. Can I build here in a way that's realistic and lore friendly to Fallout? And there's lots of practical features for the player? Can we build this one with working machines and gadgets? How about all the things that the Minutemen garrison would need? And can we add some features that tie this in narratively with my other builds? So grab yourself a snack and your favourite beverage, get comfy in your chair and come join me for a tour. Up next on Fallout Play Build Collect. Hello and a massive welcome or welcome back to Fallout Play Build Collect. The castle, no mods build, previewed this one way back in 2022. This has been a long time coming. I'm really happy to finally have the time to get this video done for you. This is one of my favourite locations in the game, so I really hope you like what I've done with the place. Over on the right here we have a guard post. We'll come back to this in a second. I've used foundations to repair the walls all the way around the castle, and I placed this scaffolding tower here at the main entrance. I've got heavy lasers for long range, I have the shotgun turrets for close range, and the spotlights, and just in case the power goes off I've got two traditional heavy turrets. That's in addition to the heavy turret at the front of this guard post, which also has its own spotlights and is permanently manned. And again, just in case the castle has a power outage, this has its own power supply. I've used the wind turbine here, but there's some great mods out there for water-wheel power generators. There's a great spot for one of those if you prefer using mods. So we have a changing of the guard happening here. Now, I'm pretty lucky to get these working because in case you don't know, the guard system at the castle is bugged, so it can be a bit temperamental as to where the guards go. You'll see a bit more of that as we go through. Some of the guards have a tendency to stand in random places around the wall. As we go through the entrance, you see the GNR radio shack in the middle and this red arch over on the right, so you can get cleaned as you come into the castle. That shack also houses some more defensive turrets, the recruitment beacon and the main power supply. At the bottom you can see I've repaired the wall with the foundations again, and I've also managed to turn it into a staircase. On the lake side of the castle you can see I've used those foundations to build a large platform. Let's start a tour on the other side and we'll walk around to that more complex bit in a moment. A kennels area for our guard dogs and this covered workshop area. We have our Minutemen themed power armours, and over by the workbench we have our scavenging stations. I use multiples of these really just to have the workmen gather in the same area, and I really like the welding animation that they do. Again, if you prefer to use mods, there's loads of great animation rugs you can get, but I still think this works quite nicely. We'll come back to this other structure in a second. Before that, let's take a look inside the radio shack. I've got the Vault-Tec management computer in there, and the fusion generator that gives us plenty of power. I love the joke in the TV show about the fiddle music. Whoever decided to put that in the show was genius because this music drives me mental. He just said, "Are you finding the broadcast useful, General?" No, I'm not. Closer look at the rebuilt wall. There's nothing really complicated here, just snap the foundations in it, just really patient with lining it all up. It made sense to me to stagger the levels and turn this into a staircase. I'm really pleased with how it came out. You'll notice around the settlement I've got all the food plants all spread out. That helps to make the settlement look busier with the settlers moving backwards and forwards. It also brightens the place up and takes some of the bareness and starkness off the walls. Let's head up onto the new platform area. And first off, over here on the right you can see there's some containers there for weapons and ammo. And we have this weapons test area. This is where you'd be testing weapons rather than actually doing accuracy like a firing range, it's so short. Gym and training area. This gets really busy at night. Stay tuned for the night tour. I'll put a night tour in the end and you can see this in action with all the people up and interacting with the objects here. Actually nice to have that window area there as well. Actually came in useful when this place got attacked. The problem with this was getting everything aligned correctly and getting all the levels right. No real sophisticated tricks or anything, just a lot of patience. It's really easier just to build buildings on the inside, but I preferred doing this, even though it was a bit harder, just to make it seem like it was more like a functioning castle still. Of course, the star pattern of this castle lends itself to having these turrets on each corner. One of the most complicated things with this whole build really was the wiring. I've used the conduits on the ground to try and stop there being so many hanging wires all over the place, and of course the conduits help with having those built-in lights. But my god, it was a pain to get it all aligned. And you can see how nicely all the wiring ties into this central defensive tower. The guard here can look out and see the upcoming robot provisioner. You've seen those in lots of my builds. This is the first video of mine you're watching. I've got loads more No Mod builds here on the channel. I'll put the No Mods build playlist at the end of the video for you. This is something you might have seen in some of the previews. This is my signal tower. This is something that ties into two of the other builds, the Spectacle Island and to Warwick Homestead. This uses that terminal there to program the lights to display different colours. It's all practical and working in game. And the roleplay idea here is that these three settlements are all in visual range of each other. So I thought it'd be interesting if they had a way of visually signalling each other. The green lights on the boxes here are signalling to the other two settlements that everything here is all okie dokie. You can see Warwick Homestead over the bay there, and that settlement has exactly the same beacon as this one, and you'll see that build on the channel very soon. So make sure you stay subscribed and notified for that. Now sadly, because of the draw distance limitations, even on Series X here, you can't actually physically see the beacon, which is a little bit disappointing. But you know I love to put loads of these little roleplay things in. This platform also has a firework mortar that you could also use to signal, and another turret to add some crossfire onto that entrance. And while we're talking about connecting these three settlements across the bay, we come to this cargo elevator. This is its own power switch, so if you was under attack you could shut this down to stop anybody using it to get into the castle. You can see here it goes completely dead when it's switched off, and you could use the upper level as a signalling tower, or maybe to be watching the boats coming and going from the various docks. Building this really wasn't difficult, it just takes a lot of patience to get it aligned, both for the height and getting it aligned straight along the wall. Again, there's no tricks or gimmicks involved, it's just a lot of hard work and patience. Now if you've seen my builds at Egret's Tours Marina and at Taffington Boathouse, you know I like the idea that the Minutemen would be moving goods along the riverways. And you might be able to just about see the Brumman pen I've got in the corner there, and all of the goods would come in from boats on the dock and they would pull them up the lift. And as I said, stay tuned for the Warwick build because you'll see a very similar dock there. I think it's nice all these Minutemen builds are all tying in together and having a bit of a joint narrative. No defensive turrets on the far side, I figured they won't be getting attacked from this area. Instead I've placed an eyebot pod. I think the eyebots would be great for reconnaissance over the water, and perhaps even for moving light goods between the settlements. Big water purifiers down on the shoreline there. I love the way that big hose comes up and into the building for you already. I think clean purified water is going to be one of the main commodities in this world. Between this and the amount of water that Warwick produces, I figured this would make the Minutemen quite wealthy. A little bit of food production up on top of the walls also helps to keep people coming up and down, keeping the settlement looking busy in all areas, and this water pump ties in quite nicely with the purifiers down on the bottom there. Repaired the balcony on the left there to make that a little bit more practical. And in this far corner, this is something I've started doing a lot more in builds these days, leaving sort of half finished things in here to make it look like the builds are still in progress. The rocket turret has its own temporary power supply, and we have the bare frames and the tools, just making it look like this is something they're still working on. Or of course they could be doing repairs from after an attack. Another look at the repaired wall and the staircase from above. As I said, pretty simple to do really. Chose not to build anything along the outside of this wall. You could go crazy, I know a lot of people have on PC, but here on console, even on Series X, this is right on the very limit of what the console can handle. You can see all around this upper walkway I've used the wire mesh floors just to give a little bit of contrast and texture continuity between one surface and the next. Same turret arrangement in this star corner. The difference here being the fact we have the rocket turrets. Now these things are fantastic if you get attacked from the air, which you might do, spoiler warning, but they can also be deadly against your own personnel. So to prevent any blue on blue accidents, I've given this its own switching system. Once the aerial threat has passed, it's a good idea to switch these off. Another closer look at how I've used these wire mesh floors just to give that context from one surface to another. Of course the snapping on these is really relaxed, so it's really easy to snap them into floors like this. You may have noticed I've used these wire mesh floors snapping into the ground in a lot of my other builds. Thanks for staying with me on this one. I know this is a much longer video than usual. I really appreciate you staying with me. And I think it's time we went inside and took a look at the interiors. You notice what I said earlier about having the plants over in little sections just to take the bareness off the walls, and we have this security position here just making sure no one gets in here who shouldn't. Nice of Ronnie to come out and greet us. These mannequins are displaying my Minutemen soldier uniforms. See on the wall I've noted down what the defence of each of these would be. And I like the look of the white armour, but that was of course before we had the Creation Club content that actually gave us the specific Minutemen patterns for combat armour. This is actually a really practical armoury in game. I collect and build all of the weapons for the Minutemen faction here. This has become my main recruitment centre for the Minutemen, and everybody who's trained here gets equipped with a combat rifle variant and one of my uniform variants, and they eventually get dispatched all over the Commonwealth. What version they get equipped with depends on what threat zone they're going into. Made sure just about everything the character needs is in here, and none of these storage containers are there for decoration. Every single one of them serves a practical purpose. Now if I turn my HUD back on for a moment, you can see that when I go around, much like some of my other builds, if you've seen those, everything is meticulously organised. I've got all of the different versions of armour, all of the weapon types. I keep big stocks of ammo and missiles here. I've got all of the different aid types here. Anything the characters may need, I can equip them from this armoury. The part drawers actually have parts in them. And it's useful to note if you're recruiting a lot of settlers in one place, it's a good idea to stockpile all your weapons and ammo and armour all in that one place. And then you can just distribute the settler guards out to the rest of your settlements. Ronnie there let me know what a great job she's doing when it's actually me doing all the work. See the Galaxy News radio theme there on the Radio Shack? That ties in nicely with the Coastal Cottage build. Big thanks for making that such a popular build on the channel. You might notice the recruitment beacon sunk into the roof there of the tower, and this is also one of the main central hubs of where all the electrical wiring goes. Along with plenty of food and water this place produces, the other thing it produces is plenty of ammo. Of course, a gun without ammo is just an unbalanced club. Quite often get one of the settlers come in here and they sit at the desk, which is quite nice, makes it look like they're operating the machinery here. And again, this is an actual practical thing. I really do use this to produce all my ammo. Another one of those areas that looks really good at night, so again, don't forget to stay tuned for that night tour later. A lot of people have been asking me for build tutorial videos recently, and I'd love to do that. I'm not very well set up for it at the moment. That's something I'd love to do, but I can only really do it with your help. As always, any help you can give is very much appreciated. This is the first of 4 interior rooms. This one is our rest room. We have the toilets, the wash facilities in here. We also have the eye doctor, and we have our priest doubling up as our barber. Plenty of guest beds in this corridor. I figured that the castle's going to have a lot of troops coming and going, so you're going to need a lot of temporary guest beds. I'd like to have added a lot more decoration, but the build limit was really against me here. This is right on the limit of what Xbox Series X can handle. And if you want to know how you can safely manipulate the build limit, I have a video specifically for that. This is the mess hall. This is an area that really livens up in the evening, and I'll put some footage of that in the night tour later. I think they keep all the food stocks in the cellar, so that's where I've placed the counter, give her easy access to get down to the supplies. And they've got everything you'd need in here. They've got the refrigerators, they've got the icebox, the washing facilities, benches, cooking facilities, everything they could need. And I added some fresh fish racks as well, because you're right on the coast, you presume they'd be doing a little bit of fishing. A few more guest beds here in the corridor, and then we head into what is my character's personal office. Pretty basic. This is just where I dump some gear when I've been out on mission. I come back from a mission and I'll just dump the gear in here before I organise it all. I've used this Vault-Tec room to create a little brig. If you bring back any captives from a mission, you can place them right here in the brig. I think the bars on the window fit this quite nice, and of course we have this really nice secure door. It's a small but reasonably comfortable place to keep your prisoners. The next 2 alcoves in this corridor have more guest beds. And then we move into the main barracks room. This would be for the main staff members who never leave, people like Ronnie in the armoury, the pastor, the cook, the doctor, all of those sort of people would stay here. And they have the nice clean tidy cots and a footlocker each, and just a little bit of decoration on the walls just to brighten it up a bit. And in the alcove at the bottom of these stairs we have a doctor here setting up this little medical station. She has a desk and some storage and some dispensers, obviously a bed that she can examine people on, and occasionally 1 or 2 of the settlers will come and they'll actually sit in these chairs as if they're waiting in a waiting room. So next I think it's time we had a look at this place at night. I think this one lights up really well and it's really effective in the dark. Once again, thanks for sticking with me. I really enjoyed your company. And if you're enjoying the video, don't forget there's a button specifically for that. And if you are enjoying the video, don't forget there's lots more No More builds here on the channel and more to come very soon. And don't forget you can support the channel here on YouTube, over on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can contact me much faster on those platforms, and I'm providing a look behind the scenes, previews of all the new builds, and some more secret content coming very soon. So be sure to check that out. Now, over to the night tour. This is the exercise and gym area. As I said, this ends up packed in the evenings. As you can see here, lots of people using the equipment. And I hope you like to look at the entrance with all those spotlights. I really like the look of this when you approach this castle in the dark. As you can see, this is a really big area to light, so I've packed it full of lights and I think I've got it just about right. Of course, as I said all the way through the video, build limit is always against you in this sort of project. You can see here the signal tower lights up beautifully against the night sky. The loading dock there all nicely lit up. Here's one of those guards I mentioned earlier that has the habit of standing in slightly odd places. If anybody knows a fix for this bug, please let me know. Still, I don't think it does any harm. It kind of looks quite nice for the guards to just stop where they want to occasionally. Don't forget to stop in and see the radio operator if you've got any requests for classic fiddle music. Apparently it has really great mids. And as I said earlier, here's the mess hall completely packed and everybody patiently queuing up to collect their meal at the end of a hard day's work. I love the animation with settlers where they read the paper and sit at the table and eat meals and write letters. I just wish there was even more of that in the settlement system. It just brings so much life to the settlements. Once again, I really appreciate you joining me for this video. If you've got any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything. If there's any objects in the build you want to know where they come from, please just leave me a message. I'll try and point you in the right direction. And I'll be really interested to know what you thought of this build. This is one of my favourite locations in the game. Is it yours? Do you often build here? I look forward to hearing from you. And of course I have to thank this month's supporters. Whether it's just a one-off or a regular contribution, you can help the channel now over on Patreon and buy me a coffee. The links are in the description and every penny goes to making new content. Now if you're still watching, you'll definitely like some of my other content. Here's my suggestions of what to watch next. Don't forget to smash the like button before you go, and I hope to see you in another video very soon. Thanks for watching.